Chapter 10. Later that day, in a house on the outskirts of the nearby town of Port Burdock, Dr. Arthur Kemp, a research scientist, was seated at a table in his top-floor study. The tall, thin young man with blond hair and mustache looked up from his microscope as the setting sun sent its last bright rays into the room. Kemp put down his pen and stood up to stretch. He walked to the window, where a movement on the road caught his attention. It was a short, stout man, frantically waving his arms as he ran, with some difficulty, it seemed to Kemp, towards town. "Another fool," muttered Dr. Kemp, "running wildly and for no reason. Just like that idiot who ran into me this morning in town shouting, 'The Invisible Man's coming, sir! You better hurry home!' I simply cannot understand how people can believe such foolish nonsense." But the people in town who saw the terror on Thomas Marvel's face as he ran through town shouting warnings about the Invisible Man did not think it was foolish nonsense. Not when they heard heavy breathing a few steps behind the tramp. Not when a dog playing in the road yelped from an invisible kick. Not when two boys huddled together were suddenly elbowed apart by an invisible arm. Not when a child was pulled from its mother and pushed to the side of the road by an invisible hand. People screamed in terror as they ran to their homes. Panic spread through town along with cries of, "The Invisible Man is here!" Those cries hadn't yet reached the inside of the Jolly Cricketer Inn when the door suddenly burst open and Thomas Marvel tumbled through it. His hat was gone and his coat was torn open at the neck, but he was still clutching the books in his arms. He threw his whole body against the door to slam it shut as he wept uncontrollably. "He's coming! The Invisible Man is coming! He's after me! For God's sake, help me!" "Then the stories in the newspapers are true," gasped the frightened barman. "Quick, bolt the door!" ordered a policeman who had been having a drink at the bar. "Lock me in!" begged Marvel. "I gave him the slip, but he's after me. He threatened to kill me, and I know he will." Suddenly, a violent banging shook the bolted door from top to bottom. "It's him!" shrieked Marvel as he looked around in a panic for a place to hide. "Don't let him kill me, please!" The barman pulled the tramp behind the bar as the banging was repeated. "Please don't open the door!" screamed Marvel. "And be sure all the other doors to the inn are shut. He's as sly as the devil. If there's an unlocked door, he'll find it." "Good Lord!" shrieked the barman. "There's the yard door, and the back door, and the kitchen." Just then a door slammed. The barman rushed out of the bar towards the kitchen, but reappeared moments later carrying a large carving knife. The kitchen door was closed, but the yard door was open. He may be in the house already. The policeman took out his revolver just as the door from the bar to the kitchen burst open by itself. Marvel was suddenly pulled from behind the bar and flung across the room by an invisible force. The revolver cracked, and the large mirror behind the bar shattered and came smashing down to the floor. The barman and the policeman froze in their tracks and stared in wonder as invisible hands dragged Marvel, screaming, out of the bar and into the kitchen. The policeman recovered his senses before the door could be bolted and rushed after them. He grabbed the wrist that was dragging Marvel, but a punch to his face sent him staggering back. "I got him!" cried the barman, clawing at the air. Finding himself suddenly freed by the attack, Marvel crawled between the legs of the fighting men. Then, the voice of the Invisible Man was heard shouting a cry of pain as the policeman stamped down hard on his foot. But he recovered immediately, and his unseen fist and legs flew out, sending the policeman doubled to the ground. In the confusion of the fighting, Marvel grabbed the books he had been guarding and crawled out of the bar unseen. Once in the kitchen, he headed for the yard door. Moments later, the bewildered men found themselves struggling with empty air. "Where's he gone?" gasped the barman. "Must have made his way out, same as how he came in, through the yard door," said the policeman as he got to his feet. "Let's go." No sooner had they entered the kitchen than a plate came whizzing by the policeman's head. "I'll show him," he explained as he raised his revolver and took aim at the open yard door. 5 shots rang out and sped into the night outside the door. Then all was silent. "You must have hit him," said the barman. "I'll get a lantern and we'll see if we can feel around for his body."